Welcome, beautiful hearts. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're still going to continue on with the process of Kundalini Awakening and how the journey unfolds and what one may be experiencing if you're going through this right now. And I have someone very special with me today. Her name is Shivangi, and she is a beautiful, beautiful soul who has been aligned to me on this journey so that I can spread the message, spread the word, share my experiences and my learnings with you for whoever is going through this process or whoever may have questions. So today how it's going to work is Shivangi's going to be with me sharing the screen, and she's going to ask me certain questions. She asks really good questions. So some are questions that I think are very common to people who are interested in Kundalini Awakening and what may happen. And some may be questions that you as a person going through this process may be experiencing, or perhaps down the line you might experience this, and these words may resonate with you wherever you are on your journey, and sending you so much love wherever you may be on this beautiful journey. And of course, always know that everything is always unfolding for you, for your highest alignment, and for you to embody the Shakti, the energy and the essence that you are.
Hello, ma'am. So, the very first question,
Okay.
if Kundalini exists in everyone, what truly changes a person when it awakens?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Okay. So, Shakti, Kundalini, is the cosmic divine intelligence that is responsible for all of creation, all of destruction, all of life. It's a cosmic energy, okay? When we're born, we're given enough Kundalini to function, basically, okay? So very simply, if you tune to your breath, blinking, all the systems in your body, your nervous system, your digestive system, that is Kundalini working, okay? But a large part of that energy remains dormant. Okay, so everyone has enough functioning Kundalini or active Kundalini in which they can function in regular life. But majority of that lies dormant, lies in its potential state, but it's not actualized. And most importantly, what we have to understand is that for the average person, and I don't mean average in terms of hierarchy, as in more or less, but let's just say for the average human being, when initially Kundalini is stored in the Muladhara, in the root chakra, okay? And that is the chakra that governs our food, shelter, and clothing, okay? So our sense of security in the world, our sense of safety, our sense of status, belonging. So primarily it is a chakra that can be governed, we could say, in terms of survival. So imagine now if all that energy lies dormant there, what does it mean? It means that the individual's consciousness is always geared towards survival, okay? Towards me, securing myself. The consciousness has not yet shifted to include another or other people. It will be about me, myself, my family, anything to do with the term my, and securing resources for that my, okay? So there's already a sense of separation between you and another, between you and life. All right? When the Kundalini awakening takes place, when you go through an actual awakening process, what happens is that individual consciousness starts to journey towards merging with divine consciousness, with universal consciousness. So we evolve from being only about I and me to we and us, but at a very universal level. So we begin to understand that at the level of energy, there is no separation. We begin to understand at the level of feeling, at the level of a direct experience, that the universe and me, life and me, are not separate. Me and you are not separate. There is no separation. So as per the law of oneness, we will, during this process of Kundalini awakening, you will have a direct experience of oneness. And not once, multiple times.
Okay.
I like to see that as the carrot, but you will understand that there is an underlying principle or a universal law, and that is of oneness, that we are all a part of one unified consciousness. We are one node in that field of unified consciousness. And as the Kundalini energy rises, okay, as your soul comes online, because now your higher self is like, I'm embodying, I'm coming into the body now. Okay, so what starts happening is you understand that because there is no separation, whatever you feed into the field is whatever you're going to receive back. Okay, so if when you sit in anger, you feed that anger into the field. When you sit in judgment, you feed that judgment into the field. If you are sitting in polarization or conflicting energies within yourself, you are contributing that to the field. So what happens to a person when they understand oneness? What do you think could happen as a result of experiencing oneness?
Maybe understanding other people more better,
Okay, yeah. So
from like all the perspective, like the kind of experience they are living, kind of my own
yeah.
experience.
So we could say that our empathy expands,
Yes.
right? We expand in our empathy. We expand in our compassion. We expand in our understanding of self and other. We sometimes see ourselves in the other, because that is the ultimate truth, that there is no separation. So we will begin to see aspects of ourselves in the mirror of life. And the mirror of life is all those we journey with, right? Life is not separate. So anybody we meet along the way, we begin to see ourselves in the waxing and the waning of the moon, the cycles of the moon, the flaring of the sun. You understand? So at every level, we begin to experience and come into states of unity. But we will be shown, where are we in separation? Where are we still in lack? Where are we still separated from source, from God, from the divinity that we are, that we've always been? So I think that's one of the main things that a person can experience once the Kundalini comes into activation. Then there are other things. For example, we all, at the core, we're all energetic beings.
Yeah.
And somewhere we forget that. But most of us are energy sensitive. We may not be energy aware, but we're energy sensitive. But we start to have deeper understanding of life in terms of vibration, in terms of frequency, in terms of understanding ourselves as vibration and frequency. So where are we harboring distorted frequencies within us? Where are we in wholeness? Where are we in that abundant energy? Abundance is a frequency, it's a state of being. So is scarcity, so is lack. These are all states of being. They are vibrational states. So we begin to understand the law of vibration. How our vibration and our frequency creates our reality. How we co-create our reality by the vibration and the frequencies that we sit in, that we emit out.
Okay.
Did I go on a thought tangent?
Oh, it's
Okay.
perfectly fine. That leads me towards another question.
Yeah.
So, is it a sort of transformation in
Yeah.
one's life?
Yeah.
Because once you are with yourself and then you get in connection with oneness, all
Yeah.
sort of thing in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is a journey of
It
transformation.
is the ultimate journey of transformation, because at every level, so at the level of the physical body, at the level of the energetic body, the pranamaya kosha, at the level of the emotional and mental body, at the level of the bliss body, the wisdom body, each of these bodies comes online, if I can put it that way. Okay, they come online, and at each of these levels, there is a purification and there is a transformation. So all that is not aligned to your original divine blueprint, your original soul essence, will begin to get purified out. Okay, purification is, in a sense, transformation, because when we purify, it's like the alchemist. We are turning this into that. And fundamentally, we all have the potential for alchemy within us. We can all turn pain into wisdom. We can all turn our life experiences into a passion, into a gift, into wisdom for the collective. So we all have the potential within us to become the alchemist. And when you go through the process of Kundalini awakening, which is very much a process, okay? It's a constantly unfolding process. You become the ultimate alchemist. Like, so we see in nature is a beautiful, Mother Nature is the best example of alchemy. How the seasons turn, right? How from the barrenness of winter, then we have spring and the blooming of the flowers. And that's the same cycles that we go through within ourselves. So it is absolutely, you're right, a journey of inner alchemy, inner transformation. And what is being transformed is those lower vital forces. So greed, lack, scarcity, those things that keep us, small and separate, where we want more, we desire more, but it's not aligned for our highest good or for the highest good of all, for the highest good of that universal being that we are all a part of. So those lower egoic tendencies within us start to become alchemized or start to become transformed.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so from our last question, now let's move to the next question, which is somewhere related to that one.
Okay.
So, in your experience, how does the body react in the process of this transformation?
Okay. This is a really good question. The body goes through a lot. Okay, let me elaborate on that. Body plays a huge role in ascension and awakening, especially in the period of ascension and awakening that we are collectively in now, because we are in a time where we are ascending with the body. So it's not about ascending out of the body right now, it's about ascension in the body, through the body. So what happens is that as Shakti, as Ma rises, okay, as that energy rises within you, what happens is that wherever in the chakra system, wherever in your energetic system there is a blockage, you will feel pain. You will feel phantom body pains, and you may go to a doctor, and 90% of the time what people during their Kundalini awakening process face is that when they go to the doctor and they do checkups, usually they come back with a clean chit, essentially meaning that there is nothing that is found on x-rays or scanners or through tests. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to a doctor. You have a physical body. The physical body may have needs, but I'm speaking specifically to do with the Kundalini awakening process. What happens, as I said, is as the energy moves, when it encounters blockages in the chakras, you may feel phantom pains in the body parts that are associated with that specific chakra. And this is not a one and done process, okay? So at different points, depending on where the clearing and purification is happening for you at that time, you may feel body pains or discomfort in that part of the body. So for example, if your root chakra is going through purification and cleansing, you may face issues in the legs, in the genital region, in the pelvis. You may have cramping, you may have sharp pains. Once the purification is done, that part will, you may feel expansion in that area, a lightness in that area. You will also feel the actual energetic flow moving through certain parts of the body, depending on what is exactly being purified and alchemized within you. A lot of people experience deep exhaustion, and this is something that I experienced on my journey, especially in the first 3 years. I was exhausted. When I mean exhausted, I mean bone deep tired. There's so much exhaustion, and the reason for this is because now the nervous system understands that it is essentially safe to start thawing. In a sense, it feels safe to start that process of coming out of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay, those are essentially the systems that we've been running in to keep ourselves safe, to manage life, to manage ourselves. But now it is understood that, okay, there is enough safety in the system in which you can start to thaw from all of these responses, thaw from all of these patterns of being, all of these coping mechanisms, these strategies that you have used to essentially cope with life. And so what can happen is during this process, while you are having this, your nervous system starts to dysregulate and then recalibrate is you can feel a bone deep exhaustion. And it's really, really important that you honor the need for rest. The mind will not like this. The mind will feel very out of control. And so what can happen is the mind will start wanting to try and recreate security in the way that it has wanted to feel safe before. But what you may find is that your old coping mechanisms of numbing, of running away, of avoiding, no longer work for you. And exhaustion is essentially a way for us to be in stillness, okay? So that this divine intelligence can do what it needs to do. And that exhaustion is almost in a way a form of surrender, because you're so exhausted and you're so tired and the fight has gone out of you that you're just like, I surrender. And when you allow that surrender to also, when you work with that surrender intentionally at the level of the body, when you stop fighting and stop pushing. So I'm going to speak from my personal experience. Initially, I was in a lot of push energy. So even if I was exhausted, I would push myself to do things. But the energy was like, no. And this is the divine mother. So she knows exactly what is required for you. And when you push against that energy, you're going to receive a pushback in equal force. So one thing I would say to you is that if you are at that stage of the journey where you are feeling that bone deep exhaustion, please rest. Please allow yourself to rest and understand that rest is sacred. And you may think you are doing nothing when you are in that sacred period of rest, but actually internally, there is so much going on inside of you. There is your original blueprint that is coming online. There are old templates and ways of being, and we have layers of them that are being filtered out. It's a lot. It's a lot for the mind and it's a lot for the body. So be so gentle with your body. Tend to yourself as if you are a newborn. Really, if I had wish I had somebody 6 years ago to give me that advice, that really tend to your body as if you're a newborn and befriend your body. Allow your body to be your best friend. Most of us have terrible relationships with our body. Most of us. We don't like our body. We're at war with our body. We override every signal of the body, but the body is your friend. Okay? The body is going to reveal to you where you are out of alignment. The body is going to reveal to you where you have been storing trauma, where you have been storing emotional blockages. The body is going to reveal to you simple things like what it wants to eat, what it doesn't want to eat. You will find that your diet may go through a lot of changes during this process. You may turn vegetarian, you may become vegan. There may be times that you will feel called to have meat. There may be times you will require eggs. There may be times that you don't want to eat anything. So listen to your body and allow it to become your friend. And I know this can feel very triggering for a lot of us, especially if we have had very fractured relationships with our body. But really befriend your body during this process and have love for the body, because the body is really going through so much. So like I said, tend to your body as if it was a newborn baby. Because in a way you're being born again, you're newborn. You need to be gentle with yourself, you know? You need to learn once again to stop overriding the cues of the intuition which can come through your body. Okay, guidance can come through your body. It may not be of your body, but the body is one of the layers, one of the vessels for which that guidance can come through. And you can start simply if you have had a very, if you and your body are not in a trusting relationship, you can start very slowly. And it can be as simple as hold a glass of water and you can ask yourself and ask your body, do I require this water or not? And you will get an answer. You will get a yes or a no. You will get that small impulsive truth that will say yes or no. And as you move through the journey, you will understand that your body will guide you deeper and deeper. It will guide you on things beyond what you can understand. If you ask the energy, say you're in a space and you ask the energy, move me. Tell me, take me to what I should make for dinner. You're in the grocery store. Take me to where I need to go today. When you surrender to that energy within you, to the to the wisdom of the body, to the wisdom of the energy. The energy will guide you and lead you. The symptoms of Kundalini awakening can be vast and numerous. That can be a whole separate video, actually, because as you move through the journey, you will see there are so many, many, many symptoms that we experience and go through. And symptoms are always information. They are just always showing us where we are holding density in the body, where the light is maybe trying to do its job of recalibration and realignment, and working through that density at the level of thought, at the level of emotion, at the level of the body. And this is not only from this lifetime, this is from all of our lifetimes. During this process of Kundalini awakening, very often we also begin to do clearing on behalf of the collective. So you are not only clearing your own density, but very often you start clearing for the collective as well. Yes, of course, you may hold that same trauma, that same wound, that same blockage within yourself, but you will start doing the clearing on a collective level now. And at the level of the collective as well, we can see that at certain periods of time, there are maybe certain flus that become, should we say, global or collective, or there are certain ascension symptoms that are collective at that time. So maybe the eyes are going through something, maybe the throat is going through an upgrade. So you will hear at that time people are having cough, soreness of the throat, dryness, certain things, you know? And this is really essentially the way in which the body is involved in the process of the Kundalini rising, the Kundalini awakening. And really, it's also about learning to be in right relation with our body. I was shown on my journey in how many ways I abused my body. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning to be in right relation with my body. But the more that you come into alignment with the wisdom of your body, the more that your body will support you through this process. So it is a symbiotic relationship. You support your body is going to support you. You are cruel to your body is going to be cruel to you. You're cruel to yourself, your body's going to reflect that, you know? So always want to be checking in with the body, not being in an autopilot mode. So little thing for me, I was always really into the gym and fitness, but much later on in the journey, I understood that it was actually from fear. It wasn't for the joy and the love of moving my body and why that was beneficial for my body. It was about fear and being in a certain mold at the level of the physical, not allowing myself to expand or take up space, perhaps fitting into societal norms and ideals of how the body should look, especially the female body, you know? And it was very painful when I actually had to let go of my addiction to exercising, which was an addiction. It was a way of me to kind of avoid facing myself or facing maybe how much I disliked my body, you know? And so when that addiction was forcefully removed, it was painful. And I had to let go of that identity and that version of myself. So there's grieving as well, you know. Sometimes your body is going to do exactly what it needs for you, but your ego, or that version of you that is still in survival, is not going to like it. And that's kind of where surrender once again comes in, you know, because what I found is that when you surrender to that wisdom, surrender to that energy, the transmutation process actually happens a lot faster than when we sit in resistance. And when we sit in resistance and we block ourselves from learning the lesson that the energy is wanting us to learn, or flowing in the direction that the energy wants us to flow in, we end up creating more resistance and keeping ourselves in that pattern of pain and suffering. So essentially, we end up prolonging our pain and prolonging our suffering.
So that was an amazing explanation of how our body goes through certain transformation. And I hope people do take that seriously, because it's amazing idea of how to take care of our own self.
Yeah, it is really important.
So let's move towards the next question. So the difference between flowing energy and blocked energy during Kundalini awakening.
Okay.
So most of the people go through, oh, I'm experiencing certain kind of pain, certain kind of blockages. So
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Okay. Okay, so this is a really beautiful question, Shivangi, because I think through this process of the Kundalini awakening, we will very acutely feel expansion and contraction, okay? Like the in breath and the out breath. We will feel that on every level. So when Kundalini energy is flowing freely, what you can feel is you will feel a deep inner peace, okay? You will feel that stillness becomes, you will return to stillness. It's a return to stillness. So those fluctuations of the mind, the clinging nature of the mind, the seeking nature of the mind, all of that will, instead of being like this or jagged, the flow is more like this, okay? And that flow is you. It's your essence. So when you're in that state of flow happening, creativity increases. You may feel very creative. You may want to, I don't know, you may want to express that energy through arts. You may want to express it through singing. You may want to express it through gardening, through cooking. There's so many ways in which that energy can choose to want to move through you when you're in a flow state, okay? You may feel deeply connected to nature, to the natural rhythms. You will be able to access joy as your nature, access love as your nature. And love will not be confined to yourself or those you know. Love will be flowing equally between you and all of life. So you will feel that exchange of love between you and strangers. You will feel that exchange of love between you and your and pets, you know, with you and random children, with you and the flowers, the leaves, the trees. You will feel that energy exchange of love naturally happening. Joy, you will feel joy, and not joy because of anything, joy for the sake of joy. You know, you will feel joy in the mundane, in the ordinary. Drinking your coffee or your tea or your water you will experience joy in that process. You will really experience joy in the simplicity of life, because the mind is no longer seeking and chasing external experiences to give it that experience, to have that experience of something. That experience is coming essentially from inside of you, not necessarily requiring an external stimulus for you to be in that joy. It will be joy for the sake of joy, love for the sake of love, you know, peace for the sake of peace, because all of that is your true nature. When we're in a contraction phase, before I go to contraction, also when energy is flowing, you can feel more energetic. You can feel more energized. You will have the energy to do things. You know, you will have the energy to create. You will have the energy to express in whichever way it is that you want to express. You will feel full of energy, overflowing with energy. You may require a lot less sleep during that time. You may require a lot less food. You may require, you know, a lot less, because naturally the pranic flow, the Kundalini is flowing freely. So you are having an overflow and an abundance of energy from the source itself. You're not requiring to get that energy from outside of you. Now, when we go into blockages, how do you know that you're in a block state or if the Kundalini is blocked? Number one, you will feel pain in your body, for sure. You will feel phantom pains. You will feel random pains wherever the blockage is. You will feel heaviness a lot of times. You know, I've had periods where I feel really heavy, like it's like you're walking through quicksand, you know? So even a basic thing like going to the bathroom can feel heavy. Just things that you don't think, just normal things, brushing your teeth can feel like a monumental task when you're in a phase of a contraction or when blockages are surfacing in you. Yes, you can definitely have periods where you may feel that you're going into a depression. That's not necessarily what's happening. What can be happening is that that pain that has been buried for a long time. Okay, maybe it is pain of betrayal, self-betrayal, pain of self-abandonment, um, whatever it is that was not processed at the time, that can be moving up through you. You are going to be called to experience that now, because you can no longer stuff it down. You cannot bury it. You cannot run away from it anymore. So you may feel periods of just, feeling a little lifeless. Actually, that's a nice way to put it, lifeless, because you're not feeling that flow of energy. The energy is blocked, so you're going to feel that, that denseness. You'll actually feel the denseness in the body. You'll feel that heaviness, and at that point you may not feel external in any way. You may just want to be in a cocoon. You may want to be in the sacred gufa. That's okay. You got to allow yourself, because when we are in the sacred cave. And nowadays, we're living in a time where people are very much having awakenings in their living room, in their bedroom. You're no longer going to a cave in the Himalayas to have that period of going through your awakening. The cave is your room. So you don't necessarily want to rush that process of coming out of your cave. You may want to be in that cave and allow yourself to feel whatever it is that's arising. Because the sooner that you allow yourself to feel it, the sooner that is going to transmute, that's going to transform. The more you resist it, the more you force yourself to maybe do things or be active, or, get into that, the mind taking over, you're going to end up perhaps prolonging that phase. So once again, even if you're in a contraction, just see it as that, okay, sometimes we're at the peak of the wave and sometimes we're at the base of the wave, and both are okay, and both are valid experiences, and both are the experiences of that duality moving through us and then collapsing. So it isn't nice and it isn't pleasant, and I understand that if you are in that phase where you're in a contraction, again, the call is to be gentle with yourself. Again, the call is to really have a great deal of compassion for your own self. Sometimes it's much easier for us to have compassion for others, but when we have to turn that compassion back onto ourselves, it's difficult. For a lot of our lives, we may sit in self-loathing and self-hatred. And this journey will show you that. It will show you your own self-hatred. It will show you your own self-loathing, And that's really where we're given an opportunity. And understand that Kundalini, Ma's energy is one of love. It is one of abundance. It is one of joy. It is one of truth, So those energies are also naturally available and active within you. So if you turn that energy within yourself, if you turn to yourself with love, if you turn to yourself with compassion, with forgiveness, with understanding that even this contraction is happening to be followed by a greater expansion of the light that you are. And that's always now what I remind myself when I'm in a phase of a contraction, that, okay, expansion is coming, but it's not to chase the expansion. Okay, we're not chasing a state of being. We are being witness to what is arising within us and allowing that natural cycle. The cycle is the nature of life is cyclical. The cycles within us are also cyclical. But can we meet ourselves through the eyes of divine love? Really, with that level of love. And once you're in that process of Kundalini awakening, because the carrot that is dangled in that beautiful bliss state is that you will have experienced that state of absolute love and bliss. And so once you have experienced that, the system will always be trying to come in back to that state, which is your natural state. The state of your soul, the state of your natural being is that state. So don't fight the contraction, and you may feel stuck. Things that may have felt very easy for you when you're going through a contraction phase on the journey will feel impossible. So those are the times when you're in a contraction. Simplify life. keep life really simple. Hydrate, rest, move gently. What do I mean by move gently? Walks, yoga, but not forceful yoga practices, gentle yoga, yin yoga, restorative yoga. So you're helping the energy to move, basically. Walking also helps the energy to move. It also keeps us grounded. So really at that time during a contraction, keep life really simple for yourself, you know. Also during Kundalini awakening process, we become very sensitive to energy. We become very sensitive to other people's energy. We become very sensitive to the energy of certain spaces. So it's about being mindful of that. You know, if you're in a contraction, then really your cup may feel empty at that time. And that is not the time for you to go and be trying to pour into anything else, because you're depleted in yourself. So you got to allow the energy to start flowing again. And yeah, it's about learning how to balance your energy field. It's about learning how to be in balance within yourself, and by virtue of that, with all of life. And it's a learning process. So the energy, the Kundalini Ma, is going to teach you when you are in balance and when you're out of balance. It's going to teach you how to bring yourself or support yourself or support the energy to come back into balance and alignment, because we are always either in a misaligned state or in an aligned state.
So that was an amazing interaction in the last question, and I hope audience to relate with that on whatever level they are. So my next question goes toward mind and heart, and somewhere you have already spoke about it in the later videos. So my question is, what does balance between mind and heart looks like in anyone's life?
Ooh, this is like a loaded question. So we're speaking specifically to do with the Kundalini awakening process, okay? So from my experience, and this is really from my personal evolution through this journey, okay? When you have an awakening of the high heart during the Kundalini awakening process, and this can happen at different stages for different people depending on how the journey unfolds for them, okay? What happens is that, number one, your connection with divinity comes online, okay? You will have mystical experiences. That's a whole separate video. I'm not going to go into that, but you will have also experiences of yourself through multiple lifetimes. You will also experience yourself as the all-pervasive consciousness, that you will deeply feel and experience the eternal aspect of you, okay? And what happens is, I'm trying to articulate something that is not easily articulated, because this is not something that can be intellectually understood. It can only be experienced and felt through the process, you know? So I'm trying to articulate something that's not necessarily super easy to articulate into words, because this is not an intellectual understanding of what does it mean to live from your mind versus your heart. This is a very lived experience of what does that mean. What does it mean when your heart, which is the seat of your individual consciousness, is in charge. So your soul takes over rather than your mind, you know? And the changes that we can experience, or what we can experience when this happens, is deeper love for ourselves and others. And because we're moving towards authenticity and truth, embodying more of our true selves, embodying more of our soul self, you know, living from the soul. And as those masks that we wear start dissolving and fading away, obviously the way that you're going to move through life, the way that you're going to interact with life, is going to change. It's no longer going to be only from the small egoic identification of just Simran as this body. Do you understand what I mean? So let me elaborate a little further, okay? A lot of what we consider ourselves or our personality is usually a set of habits or tendencies or ways of being that we have become or enacted in order to get something, okay? Because we always believe that what we're seeking is outside of us. So if it is love that we're seeking, that love comes from outside of us. If it is abundance that we're seeking, it comes from outside of us. If it is peace that we're seeking, I can only be in peace if X, Y, and Z change the way they are, if life changes. So a lot of the times, because we are always seeking outside of us, we also develop ways of being, which is through the mind, okay, that if I behave like this, if I act like this, if I am like this, then this is what I'm going to receive, right? When those aspects of self start dissolving, okay, when your soul starts to come online, when your heart starts opening up, right, you are no longer seeking things from outside of yourself, because slowly the realization is coming that everything that you've ever sought is within you. The love that you've been seeking, okay, is actually within you. X is a mirror for the love that lives within you. You believe that the love is coming from X. No, you are the source of that love. And X is the beautiful mirror that shows you that you are the source of that love, you know? You think that if X is peaceful or acts a certain way, you're going to be peaceful. But what you're learning is that you are the creator of your own peace. You know, so you start flowing as life in a way that is non-conflicting with your internal state of being. And that guidance will come from the heart. Your heart is the keeper and the knower of truth. Your heart is that part of you, okay, where the individual soul consciousness sits, which is always in resonance with truth. The mind is not always in resonance with truth, but the heart is that aspect of you that is always in resonance with truth. The heart always knows truth. Okay?
Yes.
And it is a small impulse that you will feel. The mind will tell you a story. It will give you like or dislike. It will give you reasoning why and this and that and go into it. But your heart knows. It knows what is right for you. It knows what is aligned for you. It knows the step that you need to take. And that is kind of the internal shift that happens. And it is a shift. We may still go back into falling into mind and ego. And when that happens, we are being asked to, once again, come back to the heart, to bring the mind in coherence with the heart, rather than the mind dictating and leading everything for us and keeping us on that pendulum swinging all the time, up and down, up and down. So it's an attunement that happens, and it's internal. It's not external, and you cannot do it through the mind. The mind is not doing anything here. It is the heart that will start leading the way. And then you will be able to differentiate between when you are in mind and when you are in the heart. The language of the heart is the language of gnosis. It's of inner knowing. It is that knowing which does not have a reason, a logical reason for why it knows, but it knows. When we are in the mind will create a story. Okay, the mind will create a narrative. That's how we're going to know that we're in the mind. And as the journey unfolds, you will see that there are times, like I said, that you will be triggered and the mind will be triggered, and you will catch yourself. You will be able now to witness yourself being in the mind and the nature of the mind. And then the call is to come back into center, come back into the heart. And it's not that the mind is useless. The mind is a good tool if we use it as a tool. So we have to understand the right relationship between mind and heart.
That also leads towards the next question, which is how does ego death fit into this journey of Kundalini
Oh
Awakening?
man, Shivangi, ego death is the whole journey is one big ego death. That is the best question. But yes, ego death is essentially the whole of the Kundalini awakening process is one massive ego death. Okay. And for most of us, it does not happen in one instant. But yes, we can have certain periods where we can have, let's say, a massive ego death. So For me, I had spontaneous Kundalini awakening, and yes, I had one of those, the scary ones where everything was happening all at once, and I felt very ungrounded, and it was an overload. And for me, that first one was a big ego death. You know, it was a big ego death. But that ego death is still happening. I'm still in that process of purifying my ego, because the ego has layers and layers and layers and layers. And that's why sometimes as we walk this journey, we can feel that, okay, I've done so much inner work with this pattern or this way of being. Why is it still showing up? You know? And that's because the ego has many layers. I mean, we have fought to be that way for so long. We have fought to put that mask on, you know, and we have reinforced that mask so many times in our interactions with life. So, of course, that ego is not going to dissolve in 1 second. You know, those ways of being are not going to dissolve just in one moment of the rising of the Kundalini. It can happen year after year, month after month, day after day. It's a constant process of purification.
Yes, that's a very amazing answer.
Yeah,
And
it's not a one and done. It's not, yeah. I think that's, you know, and it's not the ego isn't bad. I think the ego gets a bad rap. It's so vilified. You know, we need a small bit of ego, I think, to function in the world, but small. And I think what's happened for most of us is we've created these huge, massive, you know, essentially armors. The ego is really an armor. It's an armor between you and the world. It's the mask that we present to the world, how we want to be perceived, because we're so fearful that if we were just ourselves, would we be too much? Would we take up too much space? Would we be liked? Would we be loved? You know, so essentially it's all the things and the ways of being and the ways of thinking and the ways of operating that keep us safe, that make us feel belonged, a sense of belonging, that make us feel validated, that get us what we need, you know. And so to dismantle that armor is a process, because of course we fear vulnerability, we fear losing people. And yes, on this journey you may lose people. That's the truth. You know, you may lose friendships or relationships that were not based on truth, they were based on egoic needs. You may lose ways, you know, ways of being that you have relied on, that you consider, this is just the way I am. But that's not the way you are. Maybe that's the way that you have curated yourself to be, you know, to be more acceptable to the world. So that's why the whole journey is one massive process of like laying down your weapons, taking off the armor, and then maybe realizing, oh my God, I have so many other chains and locks and bolts, and you know what I'm saying? So it's a constant process. And usually when the ego comes up, it's like, okay, where am I sitting in fear? You know, of being who I am. You know what I'm saying? Where am I holding on to this way of being, which actually doesn't serve me anymore, doesn't serve my greatest expression? Every single being is here to be in their greatest expression. And oneness is not sameness. Oneness is not sameness. So your greatest expression is not here to look like anybody else's greatest expression. And unfortunately, for survival, for a sense of belonging, a lot of the times we morph ourselves into people and something that we're not, you know? And it's like, this is the process of the great unbecoming. You are unbecoming all these things. So you're not learning, you're not putting on a new personality. Make sense? You're not putting on something new. You're not becoming something new. It's a return to self. It's a return to you. And in that return, as you return, you're going to let go of all those ways of being that are not you, that were never you, but that you put on to play a certain role, to maybe get that love, to get that security, to get that belonging, to get that validation. You know, we're releasing all of that. And so that takes time. and we have to be patient with ourselves and with the process, and not be upset when the light of Kundalini, of Ma, is illuminating that for us.
So we can say the death of the ego is quite a very big part of the entire journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move towards the next question. And the question is, what is the role of Guru in this?
Okay, what is the role of the Guru? So, one is that one goes to a guru, a realized master, or a master that is embodied, okay, that has worked with Shakti Ma, which that understands the nature of this journey, that can illuminate for you the pitfalls, the obstacles that you may face along your journey, and they can transmit grace through you through Shakti Path. Okay, so there is a transmission of grace. Now, one thing that I have understood from my experience is that throughout this journey, you are always, always guided, okay? And the guru can come to you in the living form, or the guru can come to you in the etheric, in the energetic form. So in my example, when I had my spontaneous Kundalini awakening, the first 3 years I had a guide. I cannot call her my guru, but I can definitely say that I had a mentor, I had a guide that was very beneficial to me through the initial years of this process. Subsequent to that, I met a lot of my masters or my gurus energetically. They may not be here anymore in the physical plane, but in the energetic plane, they are very much there, and they have very much guided me. And I know that many people who walk this path are also guided. But what I have come to understand is that the true role of the guru is always to guide you back to the consciousness of the guru within you. The tattva, the consciousness of the guru, exists within you, and a true guru, a true guide, will always guide you back to that consciousness that already exists within you. So do you need a guru necessarily to go through Kundalini awakening? No. Is it advised that people have a guru? It is always advised, yes, because this journey can be scary at times. It can be very disorienting for the mind. You can go through a lot of experiences that are not as per the societal norms. And if you start delving deeply into practices, sometimes it is a requirement that there is a guru with you, because the guru, as I said before, has the vision for what it is that you are required to transcend, what it is that may be your inner darkness that is going to be an obstacle to you on your path, and they can help you. But at the end of the day, you have to walk this path alone. So you can have a guru, you can have the divine, you can have darshan, you can have divine revelation, divine sightings, you are always supported. But the work that you do, you have to do alone. And nobody can do that work for you. Nobody. Whether you have a guru or you don't have a guru. And what I've understood is that somewhere along the path, when it is your time, the guru will also disappear. It doesn't mean that they are not observing you or they are not watching you, but they will disappear because you have to then understand that the true guru, the true master, is within you. And the consciousness of the great masters, of the ascended masters, of the eternal wisdom is also within you. And so they will always guide you back to that truth which lives within you.
Throughout the whole conversation we had.
Yeah.
So, is there any final conclusion you want to add to this conversation from your own side?
Okay. Wow. We danced through a lot of topics, but okay. Wherever you are in this journey and in this process, the number one thing that I want you to always take away and always anchor into, and even if you're in a contraction, if you're in a dark night of the soul or a dark night of the ego, you're going through an ego death, please understand that you are divinely guided, okay? You have an energetic support team always around you, always available to you. You are being watched over. You are loved beyond anything that you can imagine. And I think that's so important for us to really anchor into in this journey, because there are moments where you will feel so alone and you will feel like nobody understands you. And yes, if you're going through Kundalini Awakening process, maybe your family are not going to understand you. They can try. They can try to understand you intellectually. Maybe your friends are there. You're explaining to them. But unless a person has themselves gone through this journey, it's very difficult to understand, you know? So, but on the other side, there is your soul. There are your masters. There's you in higher timelines. There are going to be messages and support that come. And all you have to do is be open to understanding that this journey is happening always for you. Okay? It is not happening to you.